Hello everyone. So I want to talk today about why second marriages often fail. And this is really important because if you're in a marriage that's like not working for you and you're feeling really frustrated and lonely and getting to that hopeless point, like, is this ever going to work? You're likely also probably thinking maybe there's somebody for whom it will be much easier. Maybe there's someone else out there that like I wouldn't have to struggle this hard and it would just work. It would just be natural. And the tricky truth here is that there's always someone better. There's always someone better. Better looking, kinder, more mature, smarter, more successful. Like we could always hunt for an upgrade, right? That's a reality just for anyone. But here's the reason why second marriages usually fail. It's because the reason your first marriage failed wasn't because that person wasn't good enough for you or they were like incompatible with you. It failed because they were compatible with you. This is really like bad news, but there's good news later. You picked that person on purpose. No, sorry. On purpose is the opposite. You picked them instinctually and subconsciously based on the way their wounds and personality fit with yours. So you picked someone who's probably quite different from you and who is weak in areas you're strong. But if you have weaknesses and wounds that are completely unintegrated, that you don't really know what they are, and you haven't worked with them with enough clarity to remove them, then you are still a match for a person like that. Like, you're still somebody who would like and choose that guy. Now, often, like, so for example, I have clients who they would be in like an emotionally abusive or physically abusive relationship. So say they were in a physically abusive relationship. Of course you're going to leave because you don't want to be in a physically abusive relationship. So you finally get up the courage to leave, which means you healed something, right? When you leave an abusive relationship, you actually did heal something because the old you wanted to stay there, right? So you healed something, you left the abusive relationship. So what happens in your next relationship? Usually they're less abusive, but they're still abusive. And again, this is the bad news. So if you were in a physically abusive relationship, you'll probably go to an emotionally abusive relationship. If your first, husband was an alcoholic, your second husband will be a workaholic. Like, they'll have similar traits, but maybe not as aggravated because you have graduated in your healing, you've leveled up a little bit. So if you think that you're just going to get married and find a better guy and it's just going to work out, or a better woman, it probably won't. It probably will be very, very disappointing because when you first meet them, here's the danger. When you first meet them, you're starving. You're like, oh my God, like I felt so alone, so unseen, just like so stressed in my relationship. And this person is so great. They love me. They're all about me. They're so kind because it's the honeymoon. And then you're going to get in hard and heavy with them. Maybe you move in together. And then you're like, you'll wake up one day and you'll be like, this feels so much like my last relationship. Like this is so similar. And it is a punch in the gut. Like, this is the worst realization ever because you just blew up your family with the dream of finding something better, healthier, kinder, more loving. So the first message is it doesn't really work that way. The only way you're going to change the kind of man that you match with, that you're attracted to, that likes you, is by really doing a deep dive into your own healing. And you're going to need some help to do this because nobody's doing this out in the world. You don't know what it is. It's not just about raising your self-worth and being like, I deserve more. Although you do deserve more. It's more complex than that. Because the reason I'm going to talk about women here is that we will have a particular desire or a dream for a relationship, but we won't actually have the capacity to receive that. I know that's hard to comprehend, but a lot of women who want to be cared for, loved, and attended to will feel uncomfortable when a man helps her, will feel awkward when a man loves her really hard because she actually hasn't developed the capacity to receive. Receiving is a critical relationship skill. And so you need to heal your wounds, but you also need to gain relationship skills. And why do you need to gain relationship skills? You think relationships just work. You just like each other. You just get along. It's because the kind of relationship that women want nowadays, we have not evolved the skills for as humanity. Women haven't evolved them and men haven't evolved them. We've evolved to survive together. We've evolved to make some babies and keep them alive. But we haven't evolved to be madly in love, to have a real life love story, to just really be able to enjoy a long-term relationship with each other. And so if you're on that precipice and you're like, maybe I should find something better, before you make that decision, you need to do this work. Because the really cool thing is when you do this work, you sometimes accidentally upgrade your husband. Because who you are is half of the dynamic. Your capacity to receive determines how much you get. Your ability to appreciate and to honor someone determines how high they rise. Like, it doesn't mean for sure, if somebody is an alcoholic, they might stay an alcoholic. But sometimes they might quit. And you don't know until you do your inner work. Until you're like, I'm going to find out what part of me is attracted to a man who pays no attention to me. What part of me feels valuable when I'm rescuing someone, when I'm carrying the whole weight of the family, when I'm making all the money? What is the part of me that is afraid to not be the most useful person in this relationship? Because if you don't deal with that, then you're going to attract men who make you feel useful by doing all the work. You're going to attract men, and you're going to choose men who are kind of a train wreck so that you can feel like the bigger person. Because I will tell you, when you get in a healthier relationship, you are going to notice your own faults and failings in ways you never had to when you're with a man who's really screwing up daily. So facing your own shame, facing your own failings, facing your own desires, your own needs, this all must take place before you can actually enjoy a true love story with someone. kezia is commenting here. Hi, Kezia. I have a friend who's always been sad and hurt because her partner doesn't have an emotional intelligence and doesn't do anything to make her feel better. What's your take on that? This is a perfect example. So when your partner doesn't have emotional intelligence and doesn't know how to talk to you, relate to you, support you, it's really easy to think, this guy just doesn't get it. What am I going to do with him? And he doesn't. His level of consciousness is at a certain place. But when you're interacting with men in romantic settings, your words are not nearly as important as your vibe. This is most of what I teach in your real life love story, in my real love method. Because women will go, hey man, I'm not happy, or I need this, or you're not doing that. And he'll just be like, not getting it, doesn't understand. And she'll be like, well, I'm screwed, right? But actually, men communicate non-verbally and men receive communication non-verbally. We all do, but they particularly need this kind of like vibe to be able to hear you and to be able to respond. So it's not her fault. Nobody ever taught us any of this, but she can learn what ways of being are necessary to create ongoing emotional intimacy. There are certain ways of being. Just like you can look at your husband and be like, he's always grumpy. I don't want to talk to him. That's a way of being. Like his grump, his vibe is blocking emotional intimacy with you. As women, we have our own ways of blocking emotional intimacy. We have our own ways of funking up the vibe. We don't know we're doing it, just like men don't know they're doing it. I actually have a guide that you might really like called 5 Ways You Could Accidentally Sabotage Your Relationship, which talks about how you on your side of the fence might be contributing to this sad dynamic you're in. So if you want that, comment guide below, and I'll send that out to anyone who wants it. So don't give up too fast on your relationship until you have up-leveled your internal environment, until you have become someone who loves herself, values herself, and shows that in action, number 1. And number 2, you have taken the time to understand the masculine and the feminine, the yin and yang, the realities of instinctual attraction and bonding that we experience as human. Because without that knowledge and without those embodied skills, you'll run into the same problems with everyone you're with. And I don't want that for you. So comment below what landed for you, and comment guide if you want to know more about how you can clean up your side of the street.